Everyone. Hi everyone, welcome to this short lecture on character for our class, and I'm going to be using our ebook as a way to just highlight some text and ideas that are relevant to character and characterization in fiction. I think a lot of us derive our pleasure from reading by really getting into different characters that we encounter, whether it be the Hunger Games or the Harry Potter series. We become involved and attached to the characters that we see. And the purpose of this lecture and the reading that you're doing is to just equip you with some vocabulary with which to analyze characters, such as protagonist and antagonist, an anti-hero, a foil, and I'll let you get at these definitions through your readings, but certainly, a term like foil is really interesting, especially when we get to stories like A&P, where Sammy, our first person narrator, he does a lot of comparing of himself to other people in the story. And is he if he's the primary protagonist, we wonder if there's an antagonist or a foil for him in that little space of the A&P store. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to be reading The Lady with the Dog, a fantastic short story by Anton Chekhov, for this coming week. And we just finished reading A Rose for Emily, and I've provided you with some feedback for that assignment and the point of view that you were able to analyze. And I think A Rose for Emily is also a good chance for us to kind of locate characterization, especially Emily. The whole townspeople, they're watching her, and certainly the stories interested in noting her physical appearance, as she seems to just change shape as we encounter at different periods of her life. Also, this question of objects and places associated with the character becomes interesting when we consider how in A Rose for Emily, she's associated a lot with the Grierson house. And let's take a look at how that's done here. Um, when we go to page 298, let me get us there. When we get to A Rose for Emily, we immediately encounter the following description right after the announcement of how Miss Emily Grierson had died. We read, "It was a big, squarish frame house that had once been white, decorated with cupolas and spires and scrolled balconies in the heavily lightsome style of the 70s, set on what had once been our most select street. But garages and cotton gins had encroached and obliterated even the august names of that neighborhood. Only Miss Emily's house was left, lifting its stubborn and coquettish decay above the cotton wagons and the gasoline pumps, an eyesore among eyesores. And now Miss Emily had gone to join the representatives of those august names, where they lay in the cedar-bemused cemetery among the ranked and anonymous graves of Union and Confederate soldiers who fell at the Battle of Jefferson." Um, the way that this house is described, and in a way, the house and is sort of an embodiment of Miss Emily Grierson, and that breakdown of the interior room of her house at the very end of the story literally kind of reveals to us some of the secrets that she had been hiding over the years. But I think the fact that the house is so closely tied to Miss Emily in this story is interesting, because it is a house that had once been such a symbol of what's good in the South, and but then it's marked by decline and words such as obliterated and Cedar Bemused Cemetery, how this kind of is almost a feminine description, lifting a stubborn and coquettish decay above the cotton wagons. In the character of Miss Emily and the way that she's so closely tied to the house, we see the kind of conflict and tension between the old South and some of the modernization that's coming in, and how she is part of that august set of names, a tradition that um, gets picked up in this line. Alive, Miss Emily had been a tradition, a duty, and a care, a sort of hereditary obligation upon the town. Um, and so this characterization of Miss Emily, the way that she's associated with her house, which is in decline, um, really helps us to kind of get at the theme of decay and rotting that seems to really undergird this story. Um, and we'll talk more about character as we progress with our semester. But um, while you're reading The Lady with the Dog, I think you'll want to make note of how, if there's any changes to the way that the protagonists are featured. And I think it's also important to consider sort of your first response to the story. Not to give you a spoiler about the story, but it's a love story, but it's also a love story that involves an adulterous affair. And I want you to kind of think about how Chekhov treats this topic of marital infidelity in his story, whether he's sympathetic or not. Um, with The Lady with the Dog, actually for this coming week, I'll post some specific questions that you can choose from in our discussion board to answer. You can feel free to pose your own questions for the reading. However, I'm fine with you just going with the question that I've posted on our discussion board. And as usual, we'll have a midweek assignment, and the Dropbox for that is already there. I think you'll want to make sure to answer the two questions about character and from that excerpt on Jane Eyre carefully. Um, and that can be found in the reading that we have for the section on character in our book. And I'll just take you to that spot so that you can see it. It's an exercise on reading character. I don't know if you already read Jane Eyre, but she's one of the heroines that really shaped sort of my childhood. And I hope you get a chance to read Jane Eyre sometime soon if you haven't done so already. And so this is an excerpt from Jane Eyre. And then these are the two questions that I'm asking you to consider and respond to. What facts about the two speakers can you glean from this conversation? What can you infer? So I'm asking you to kind of read between the lines. The narrator never tells us what kind of a character Jane Eyre and the housekeeper, Mrs. Fairfax, have, but I think you can kind of get a sense of what their values are, what's important for them as they look at the world, look at different people. So those are the responses that I'd like for you to answer to. Okay, well, that's it for now. And I'll be sending out different emails and reminders. But I hope you enjoy the readings that are coming up for you, and I will talk with you soon.